and welcome to episode 286 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by Matthew Figuera.
I don't think we've ever done this before. In all the hundreds of episodes, have we ever recorded, well, me, before work on a day?
Before work, probably not. I
Probably
think we've
not.
recorded on a Friday before.
Oh, yeah, no, we've done public holidays and all sorts of things, but it just dawned on me going into the recording this week. I was like, hang on, it's a long weekend your side, and for both of us. So you had the Monday off previously. Today's Friday, you've got it off. But I don't know, in the UK, so it's 1st of May when this recording's happening. It's Workers' Day, but the UK doesn't celebrate it on the Friday. I read up that it typically just gets pushed to the next closest Monday. So
that's so weird.
So yeah, I'm working today. Obviously after this recording, but then Monday is when I'm off. So long story short, it's long weekends for both of us, but I thought let's just, do the podcast up front, and I'll do it before work, and it's just, then we don't have to think
I think
about
it's going to feel super weird.
Weekend.
I think it's going to feel super weird for you going to work after this.
Yeah, I woke up this morning, I'm like, damn, I got a long day ahead of me.
But then you have a full 3-day weekend, just
uninterrupted long weekend to recover. So
I get that. I like doing that with a lot of things in life, where I'm like, I need to get all the things I don't want to do out of the way first, so then I can enjoy the things I want to do without. Yeah.
I wish I could get whatever you said condensed into a tattoo. Live, laugh, full, get shit done, out the way.
I love that acronym. It's great.
You said.
I've had to alter that slightly ever since Asher was born, because you just can't plan stuff. Yeah. So that's where, especially in the early weeks, the Switch came so in handy, because it's like, cool, I might have half an hour here. Let me just load up Silksong or whatever, and just getting comfortable with that has taken a bit of a mindset shift, because it's like, oh, I can't settle in and be like, I'm going to play something for 2 hours. It's like, no, you got to take the time that you have, otherwise you'll just never get to anything. Yeah. So it's been strange, but that's why I play far less of PC and PlayStation, and when we were playing Marathon, it was sporadic when I could join. But yeah, it's getting there.
When you're getting that PS Portal, you are the target market now. You have to.
I've been tempted. I won't lie. Very tempted. I think I haven't got it because I can do it on my Steam Deck.
Oh, true.
And the Steam Deck is showing that it getting the PS Portal isn't the silver bullet that I think it would be initially. I need to figure out my internet situation at home, because I've got one of those mesh networks, and it bounces the internet across the home, but my room is very far from where the PlayStation and the main node is. And so unless I have those two connected directly with an Ethernet cable, the hops are just too many that the latency becomes an issue there.
It becomes a problem.
So when I figure that out, then Marathon in bed, absolutely. Will be great. But right now if I do use that, I play single player stuff just because it's not as important. I was playing Pragmata the other day in bed, which is quite nice.
Still cool you can do that though.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. I mean, it works pretty well on the Steam Deck. I'm sure the Portal will obviously be a bit more seamless, and the control scheme is a bit easier. But Chiaki I think it's called Chiaki on Steam Deck is really good. Surprisingly great for that stuff.
Yeah,
it can boots up my PlayStation from sleep mode. It does all the things. It's really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm amazed. I mean, I know we live in the year 2026, so should be less amazed about things that are possible, but just thinking of how gaming is today versus what it was even just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. A couple of months ago, I booted up Xbox Cloud because I've never tried it. And it's cool.
Oh yeah, you're in a region where that's a big thing.
It's let me try it. I've got Game Pass, booted up Call of Duty. You know what's the best part about that? Don't need to download 4 million gigabytes. Literally play through the cloud, just launch it. Boom. Hop into a multiplayer game, and it worked. I was like, I can't believe this. There's very minimal latency. It's this is insane that this works.
And did you do it on your PC
through
or
my
your
PC?
phone?
No, just I need to actually try it on I've got an Xbox controller. I should do it with that and my iPad, for example, just to see how does it work?
Have you ever thought about, because you again in a region where it's supported, like a GeForce Now sort of subscription? Because I mean, I know you've got still a relatively capable PC. You've got the 3070 Ti, right? But eventually, like hardware, you'll need to look at an upgrade. So I know a lot of people, with the states of hardware, especially this year on PC stuff, like you could potentially just subscribe to GeForce Now, and I think they've upgraded to like 50 series cards there. And then you just stream, because it just hooks into your Steam library.
Yeah.
So you stream any games that you own just on hardware that's obviously not yours. And like that seems like a pretty good experience as well.
Yeah, look, I'd consider, but the reality is that from a gaming point of view, yes. But I will always need like a laptop or a PC just for, like home, like the podcast, for example. Or
fair,
even like if I'm going to carry on streaming, it's always good to have that. But you're not wrong. In 5 years, I don't know, maybe it is like I don't have a case study for owning my own PC. Maybe it's just cheaper to, pay that subscription, whatever.
I investigated it locally, because we actually have that locally, and there's servers locally for that stuff. But there's so few spots because it's such a small service, and they're still stuck on like 3080 hardware that it doesn't really make sense. But I think it was like 200 Rand a month for the highest tier. It's like, that's not bad. That's, you're looking at just over $2,000 a year. You're definitely not buying a graphics card for anywhere near that, even over like 10 years of that. Yeah. So, and again, like a graphics card is a depreciating thing. You can buy it today, and in 4 years, it needs an upgrade anyway. So, 4 or 5 years.
You say that, but if you bought RAM like a year ago, man.
I know a guy at work who he did a whole like PC upgrade recently, and I think he waited till like November, December last year to buy like everything. And even then he was like, man, getting absolutely wrecked with the RAM prices. And at the time I was like, yeah, you waited way too long. You shouldn't have done it. If he hadn't done it then, I mean, it's like 4 times the price now, even now. So it's bad. Yeah. And now it's happening to CPUs. They're the next thing.
I
know. Just don't build a PC. It's like not feasible currently.
The nice thing about my PC is that I think my PC will be 3 years this year.
Yeah, you built it just before you left, didn't you?
No, when I arrived. So 3 years ago, in July, and I didn't even get it like, in July. It was like August, September, whatever. So what I'm getting is like my CPU and my hardware still like fine. The only thing I would need to maybe consider upgrading is my graphics card. So as long as those stay like okay, I'm okay for the next like 4 or 5 years. Hopefully.
And the good thing is that if I recall correctly, because I hope you spec it out, you got a 7600, the CPU.
I think it's AMD something XT.
I think you got like in on the new generation of chips. I'm like at the tail end of the previous gen. The cool thing is that if you need a CPU upgrade, they are still releasing on that generation of chip. They are still releasing on my generation of chip. So it's like, if you want to upgrade, you literally just buy the CPU and you pop that bad boy in. That's it. Okay. Like, and there are CPUs out that will give you, like, especially in gaming performance, like drastic jumps. And they will start going on sale because as new stuff comes out. So I actually upgraded mine not super long ago. It's in like the same family of cards, but AMD's got these chips that are like suffixed with X3D. And they have what they call like 3D cache on them, which is really good for games. Like that's predominantly like the main use for them. So I did almost like a side upgrade where I upgraded to a chip with that 3D cache from someone who was selling it secondhand. I think all in all, selling my old one and buying the new one, I spent like $2,000. And I got a brand new CPU with like drastically better performance, and it's just a plug and play upgrade.
Amazing.
So that's awesome.
It's not plug and play. You got to put thermal paste.
That's true. And I nearly didn't have thermal paste at the time. So, but like you could definitely later on, you could be like, cool, I'm getting a new graphics card. I'm buying one secondhand because, when new ones come out, people are always offloading the old ones. That's how I upgraded mine recently as well. And then you're like, cool, I'm going to get a 2-generation younger chipset that fits in mine. And you'll have what will feel like a brand new PC for a fraction of the cost. It's really cool. Like, that's why I back AMD CPU stuff lately. It's just... Intel's still like every gen is like a new socket, and it's like, come on, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah, the only thing, so I'm on AMD now. I'm loving my PC, everything. It's just the naming baffles me. I don't know why. It's one of the things I need to just sit and like go, cool, like this is how they structure the things. I just wish, and it's not even AMD, I just wish companies were straightforward. Like, call it this is like my 10th gen chip, but it's like they have a range of like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 processor, and it just, in terms of number, that's how it gets better, whatever. But calling it hundreds and adding XTs and then flipping, I'm like, why do we do this?
It's
just,
I guess it's a case of like getting used to it, because the AMD scheme I think is quite straightforward, but that's, I think, because I know it. The Intel naming scheme has become fucking weird.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it for years.
It's like the newer ones that came out, I was writing a news article on it. I think the new ones are like Core 7 Ultra 275K or F.
That's
and
too
now
much
like
Intel.
Having the Ultra in the name means something different. The K and the F determine if you have integrated graphics on it. And then it's like there's a 265, a 285, a 290. So they're not all 5s. They're like... It's very confusing.
Even
I mean, AMD's not better, but at least it seems more sequential than that. But yeah,
I mean, even NVIDIA is a good example where, like, I understand it. Okay, don't get me wrong. Like, cool, we're on the 5 series, so it's like a 5,000 and something, and it's, you get the 5070, 5080. I get it, but it's still like, why is it the 5,000 series?
Yeah.
Why do they start at like 50, 60? Like, I just... Who's randomizing these numbers and going, yes?
They're also going to wrap around on themselves eventually, because I think when I bought my very first PC, it was a 9800, so 9800. And then they went back and then they're like, nah, now we're going to hundreds again, because it was like the 580, the 680, the 780. Then they got to 10s again. Then they were like 1080. 1280.
I hate it.
And then they just skip things. So now we're on the 50 series, then it's going to be 60, 70, then we're back at the 90 series. And then what? What are we going to do? The 10,000 series?
Yeah, say what you will about phone manufacturers, okay? They've also got their different models, but it's iPhone 17. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, and like that's the base, and then you can get the iPhone 17 Pro and the different versions, but it's not like
Pro.
Apple went, we're launching the iPhone 1070 XT, and if you want the best version, it's the 1080 RS, and it's like, just simple. You're getting the Samsung Galaxy
5090 Super
10, whatever
30 gigabyte edition. You're just like, what?
Yeah.
That is where AMD's naming scheme gets fucking weird, is on their GPU side, I find. Like, actually, it's gotten better recently because they went back to a naming scheme that makes sense. But it used to be like, their older one was like 7900 XT, then 7900 XTX, and that was a different thing. Now they've just gone to like a more NVIDIA naming scheme. Their recent one is like 9070. That's
nice.
like, yeah.
I love that
it's so dumb.
There was a secret graphics card manufacturer meeting. Like, you have to have 4 numbers in your name.
Yeah. That's just, it has to fit on the box that way. We are not printing fewer numbers.
I don't know. There must be a psychology behind it as well, where it's like people now expect a graphics card to have, if AMD say, oh, we rebranding, we're calling it the RT50, people are like, oh, it's only 50. It sounds so weak.
There must be so many meetings discussing that. You're right. If you want to get into the weeds of it, monitor naming is just outrageous.
That is even worse. I can't tell you what monitor I have. It's the Dell something. Yeah,
I'd have to look at the serial number at the back. Yeah. But with all these different OLEDs, and they all have different panel types, and they all have different refresh rates and different features. Like, I watch Monitors Unboxed, like a YouTube channel, and the host there just constantly is like, every review, he reads out the full name of the monitor every single time he mentions it. And he's just like, these monitor names are so stupid. He's like, even within the same company, he's like, MSI's got this and that and this and that and that. And he's like, how is it possible for people to keep track of which one they actually want? It's like, it's silly. Yeah. It's so silly. Yeah.
I hate it.
Everyone, you're right. Everyone needs to go the phone naming scheme. Yeah.
Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. That's what they said. KISS. Do you remember that?
That's the tattoo I'm getting. We don't a full wraparound. Forget what you said. Just keep it simple, stupid.
You can get it with also like one of those dudes with the black and white face paint, like from the band. Yes. So then people think you're actually into the music, but actually you're saying they need to keep it simple. Stupid.
Yeah. I've got a tattoo in protest against hardware companies. Like, come on.
Watching E3, some stupid name like gets announced and you just roll up your sleeve. Like, just show it off.
Camera zooms in. It's like, yes, this man's protesting.
God, that's like that great moment with Peter Moore during one of the Xbox conferences when he was the boss there, and he was like rolling up his sleeve to reveal a Halo 2 or Halo 3 tattoo to like be like, it's coming.
Hilarious.
What is going on? Oh,
that's when you know you committed, man.
Yeah. I mean, Peter Moore, what a guy. Let's Checkpoint Chat to talk about video games here. There's been a lot of cool ones that have come out over the past couple of weeks. April's actually been quite stacked. I think the game that I don't think we've spoken about it at all, but the one we've both been playing, Pragmata from Capcom. The year of Capcom continues. The generation of Capcom continues in general. They were not content with having a banger in Resident Evil Requiem earlier this year. And they're like, you know what? Let's not only put out a second great game, but also a brand new IP. You know, the thing that most publishers are pretty allergic to currently. So Pragmata is third-person action game. It's not like just a shooter. It's more... It does the exploration and the platforming and the action stuff. But it's got this cool little wrinkle where you play as a guy named Hugh in a spacesuit that looks very bulky and very slow, but it actually moves quite quickly. And you've got a little girl who like chills on your back. She's an android and her name's Diana. And if you're watching the footage now, the combat is like multi-layered. You've got your third-person shooting, but every time you aim at an enemy, this like matrix, this like grid pops up, and that's basically Diana hacking an enemy. And you've got to solve this like tile puzzle where you just navigate towards a green node. And when you do that, enemies' weak points open up. And that's kind of the only way you can do actual damage to them.
Yeah.
So you're bouncing between aiming at enemies, aiming at their weaker points on their body, but then also like hacking while you're doing that to open them up. And there's just a lot of cool like wrinkles in like enemy management, crowd control, and the ways that this hacking minigame changes over time with different types of nodes that pop up on the board that do different things, like freeze enemies or add like more stagger damage onto them or increase the damage of their hack, or things, or like my favorite, multi-hack, where if you hack one enemy, it opens up all the other enemies around them. There's a lot of like very cool, very small decisions you need to make in the heat of battle that makes the combat, I think, feel very dynamic. And to me, that's the crux of what this game is. And I think it takes this like small idea that presents itself early in the game and seems like it's going to be very one note, but they expand upon that very naturally and very with a lot more complexity than you expect. And I think it keeps the action very fresh and fun. And I've had a pretty good time with this game. How about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, going into this game, it's one of those weird exceptions where I knew, Capcom's making this game called Pragmata, and I knew the box art, but I hadn't watched like any gameplay. I knew nothing about the story. So I went into this game like knowing nothing. Knew nothing about the hacking minigame, whatever. And I was just pleasantly surprised. Like, had no expectations, went in, and I've got some issues with the game, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think like you said, it's a third-person action game, but the twist or the thing is this hacking minigame on the side, and it just adds this different dynamic to combat, which I can't say I've really seen, maybe not a one for one, but I can't say I've seen that exact thing in another game. So it just makes encounters a little bit more strategic, but also it adds this like fine balance of there's like tension, because obviously you might enter a room and there's 5 enemies and it becomes this thing of like, okay, cool, who do I need to prioritize first? Okay, I'm hacking this person. Oh, I've got this node that does this. Should I use it here? Or do I bank it for another enemy? So there's all these little micro decisions you're making. And it just, it makes for a very satisfying combat and gameplay loop. Every encounter, and I mean, it's not just the mechanically, it's also how they've done the feel of the game. The sound is great. The weapons feel strong. There's just a good feeling of this game, and it's kind of difficult to describe. But it's this weird thing where you said it earlier. Hugh's like in this, he's this chunky arm. Looks something like Isaac from Dead Space, but if Isaac did gym, he's got like
he's very Dead Space coded. I agree.
It's Dead Space coded, but there's like a chunkiness to him. But he's got these boosters which let him like dash in directions, whatever. So it's just fun, and just the feeling of it feels so good.
He's chunky. Like when I first saw his suit, I'm like, oh, he's gonna feel a bit lumbering in a similar way to like Isaac from Dead Space. Like he moves very purposefully and slowly, and even when you sprint with Isaac, it's like thunks, you can feel every footstep. This is like the complete opposite. Like when Hugh sprints, he fucking goes. He moves, and it almost feels there's almost like this disconnect between the way he looks and the speed at which he moves, but it makes the gameplay feel so much faster and more in line with I don't know if you ever played Vanquish from Platinum Games.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shooter on Earth that is that fast, but it is more in line with that than it is with like a Dead Space. And I quite like that, because I think the combat requires you to be a lot quicker than you think, especially when it starts getting complicated. I was listening to an interview with the game director on this, and he apparently has been an art director on previous, I don't know if it was Platinum or if it was like the Devil May Cry series. Okay. So he comes from a background of character action.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell that there are elements of that in here with the way in which the combat requires you to be quick and to like context switch and crowd control. You mentioned the thunkiness or the chunkiness of the weapons. I think it's cool that you only have one permanent weapon. At the beginning it's a pistol, and it eventually like evolves into other things, but all of your other weapons are limited use. So you've got an offensive slot, a tool slot, and a defensive one. And initially you can only hold one weapon in each of those. Eventually that like opens up a bit more. But if you pick up, say, a shotgun or whatever it's called, a shockwave gun, there's only like 5 or 6 bullets in that thing. If you pick up a charged, like a rail gun, there's only 6 bullets in that thing. So you are constantly thinking about, okay, what weapons are in the arena that I can pick up? What do I have in my inventory? Am I going to get close to these enemies? And am I going to take them out from afar? And you're encouraged to use these things pretty liberally because you do get them. It's something I had to shift my mindset on early on, because I was like hoarding weapons. I'm like, no, I'm just going to use my pistol. I don't need it. It's like if you don't use them, you're just wasting your time. But by the same token, I wasn't using a lot of my tools initially.
Yeah.
And eventually it was like I'm brushing up against the game just being very difficult. And I just came to the realization like, oh, I'm just not using all the tools it's giving me. Like I should be using this net that roots enemies in place, or this riot like grenade launcher that knocks them to the ground and opens them up for attacks, or I should be using my decoy a lot more to, distract enemies to like attack somewhere else. And when you start working through all the tools they give you, it doesn't make the game easy or trivial, but it becomes manageable. And I really like that the combat forces you to think about these things more so than just like open up an enemy and shoot. It does feel like I'm solving a combat puzzle a lot of the time. So it's really engaging. It's really fun.
Yeah, I think also I want to touch on how the game drip feeds you stuff constantly. Like, in terms of structure, I don't know what you expect of the game, because you obviously had seen previews and stuff. You had an idea of what the game was, but even when I started up, kind of expected it to be like a point you run from A to B to C to D thing, and it kind of is that, but it's also not. It's not quite a Metroidvania, but the main playground in the game is, there's like certain hubs or levels that you can explore, and there's obviously different parts you can go through them, but I don't know, I wasn't quite expecting that. I almost expected a linear, you run through the game kind of thing. But instead, what you're getting is, as you play, you're getting different tools and like a handful of different abilities, whatever, that help you explore. You've got incentive to go back to some of the earlier areas. Like, oh, cool, now I can open up this door I couldn't before because I've got this new thing, whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't know what that means long term in terms of replayability. Like, when I roll credits, am I going to go back and play more of the game? I don't know, but it's not quite what I was expecting.
No, same. I mean, I played the demo and there was no indication that was the structure of the game, so it caught me off guard as well. I think levels is the right word. It's, again, in a character action sense, you're jumping from one stage to the next. There's no like connective tissue between the two. But then I find that these stages are like small little self-contained Metroidvania stages where you do have to find keys for certain doors. There are lots of hidden secrets. It's Metroidvania in the lighter sense. But there is incentive to go back to previous levels and pick up things, especially when a lot of the items you miss are not essential, but additive items that you use for like upgrades, upgrading your weapons, upgrading your health, this and that. I think it's really neat that on the level select screen, you're given a breakdown of this level, you missed XYZ, and also in these checkpoints in the levels, you've missed XYZ. So you can go back to the specific checkpoints or like sub areas where you've missed certain things and just play that. And the game makes it really easy for you to return back to your, I think it's called the shelter, like your hub, pretty frequently. It's a thing where initially I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to my hub. I'm just going to continue. And it's like, no, you should be going back there just quite frequently to upgrade your stuff. Especially because like the bosses at the end of each of these levels get quite intense. And when I wasn't keeping up with upgrading, they were rolling over me. It was the game's surprisingly difficult in a way that I wasn't expecting as well. There's obviously difficulty levels that you can choose, but even on a standard one, I'm like, wow, this is not a cakewalk. Like the bosses especially were really doing some numbers on me, but in a very fun way again. So the structure of the game is a bit strange, and I think that's also what where the story kind of struggles. This is my main critique of the game, is the story just doesn't feel that interesting. I think Hugh and Diana are really cool. I think their dynamic and their sort of arc is really fun. Like Hugh starting the game off being like, oh, I'm a loner, I don't really have much friends or family, He even makes a remark at one of the earlier characters being like, oh, you've got kids, that sounds a bit rough. And then obviously he has this sort of like found family moment with Diana, and they turn into this really cool dynamic of Hugh teaching her about the world, and because she's kind of like this, she's this android, she doesn't understand humanity, but in a very innocent way. And I think it's just cool seeing them interact and like growing their relationship. But the story that they're involved in with, they're on the moon, they're in a base that's like 3D printed, which is kind of neat. And there's some like rogue AI that's gone on. I think it gets a bit deeper near the other end and you start understanding why certain things are happening. But even then, it feels very predictable in a way. And I just don't really care much for it.
No, that's the story in a nutshell. It's like, so you arrive on the moon, bad things happen. Oh no, AI did something. And that's pretty much, that's the story. I mean, I'm like half an hour away from finishing this game. Like, I know I'm right at the end, and there's a twist upon a twist upon a twist. Like, I know I'm in the tail end of this game, whatever. But the story has been that, and the only thing, like coloring in the little gray areas in the background, it's like, you pick up notes, and there's little things you find that give you context of what is going on in this moon base, and that's interesting. But in terms of the actual beat-to-beat moments, it is, I think you said it earlier, the way the levels are, that's what makes it feel a little bit disjointed almost. It's this weird thing where when I started the game, I was like, oh, not like Dead Space, but like, oh, okay, it's a bit tense, like Hugh's alone in this planet with on the moon with Diana, and like there's all these robots out to kill them, but then it's like it's pretty lighthearted, which is okay. But I almost expected something more mature from the story of like, like here's some social commentary on something, but it's not. It really is. It's just like, I don't know, something went wrong with the AI. Like I'm obviously still trying to get to the big like reveal, whatever. But it's like, oh, okay, it doesn't feel like there's any sort of, like there are hints in some of the notes of like, yeah, it's weird. The AI is like doing this, but it's not like this build up in the way I expected. I think that's where the biggest flaw of the game comes in. It's just like, the story's fun. The dynamic between the two, fantastic. And maybe a bit cliche of, she doesn't, Diana's an AI, she doesn't know anything. And, Hugh says something and she's like, what do you mean by that? And he has to explain it. But it's still like endearing and cute to hear him explain it. And I love those moments. So like, I'm not going to criticize the game on that. I just kind of expected maybe a bit more from the story side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you in that sometimes it is cliche. Some of Hugh's lines are a bit like eye rolling, just the way he explains things. I'm just like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
But it's done very earnestly and very like authentically. So it is endearing. I think the only part of the story that kind of captivates me is like, what is Diana? What is a Pragmata? Where does she come from? And you do get answers to that. Again, they're not like, oh my God, that was a big twist. It's more just like, oh, okay.
Kind of what you expected.
I've seen this before. Yeah. I think the coolest part of the setting and the story is that the fact that this takes place on the moon and everything is 3D printed, it allows the different levels and biomes to look very different and varied because it's basically these scientists there who are experimenting with this tech, and what do they end up, building are they're building things that they miss from the world. They're trying to recreate things essentially, and so you've got this level early on which takes place in what looks like Times Square, even though you're kind of in a lab on the moon. There's another one which takes place in like this built up forest. It's cool that each level has this distinct look to it that breaks up the, very reflective white hallways that connect them. Because I was worried about that at the beginning. I'm like, this looks good, but if it's going to be like this the entire game, it's going to feel very sterile.
100%, yeah.
So it's got a really cool like visual variety, and the game it looks really good. Like from a technical level, there's a lot going on at any given time. It looks great, and it runs at a very high frame rate, so it's really cool.
Yeah, this engine, man. But yeah, it's wild to think this is the same engine that made Resident Evil, recently. But yeah, to your points earlier, it's a same thing where, again, I went into this game not knowing anything about it, really. So and mild spoiler, it's like the second level, when I rolled into a recreation of New York, I was like, oh, I did not this is beautiful. I was expecting just white corridor moon base and, laboratory stuff. So to walk into that level and go like, oh, okay, they're going to play around with this game, and they do, for the most part. Some of the levels are these variations, whatever. So it was a nice thing to see, and I think they had fun with it as well. It's like, you're on the moon, but I'm going to make you feel
it's kind of funny. You should hunt down the very first trailer for Pragmata, which I think was 2024, 2023. It was it got announced and then just didn't appear for a long time. It was sort of, it's similar to like Capcom's Deep Down. I think people just assumed it was never coming again.
Yeah.
And then when it did resurface, it was like, coming in 2026. And that felt like a year that didn't exist. But the very first trailer is Hugh. I mean, he doesn't talk. There's Hugh and there's Diana. There's like a little girl and they're like holding hands and they're in New York. It looks like New York. And you're like, why is the spaceman in New York?
Okay,
so
yeah.
It's cool that they had that idea or that sense of the setting super early on, and then just built on that, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'll take my hat off to Capcom. You mentioned it up front where they've just, like, Resident Evil came out not that long ago. And you'd think there'd be content like, yeah, cool, we've got Resident Evil out. let's just sit back and let's just bank Pragmata for late in the year. But they're like, nah, put out a couple weeks later, and it's really good. I don't think it's going to win Game of the Year necessarily. As much as I love it, I think critically it's not going to stand up against some of the bigger contenders. But I love that Capcom took a swing, and I think, okay, like again, not Game of the Year material, but they hit very well, and I would be shocked if we don't see a sequel. Like, again, don't know how the game ends, but I'm pretty sure this is like a new IP that they're going to keep investigating. So I'd be very keen to see what they do with the sequel, because this is a fantastic foundation. Absolutely. Like, way better than I thought it would be. Again, no expectations, but completely blown away by how much I've enjoyed this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a super strong first effort. Not in the sense of like, oh, yeah, you know, there are rough edges, but this is a, you know, if you had to give it a score, this is a solid 8 out of 10 any day of the week for me. And I agree with you. It's not going to be like a nominee for Game of the Year. It might crop up in terms of like visual categories and maybe sound and stuff. But this is a game where it's like, cool, Capcom nailed this as a new IP. It seems to be selling very well. It sold like 1 million copies in the first 2 days. So I think from a commercial standpoint, it makes sense to make a sequel, but I would definitely love to see these ideas expanded on again in a sequel, because I think there's a lot more juice here than I thought there would be. And I think now, having seen that, there's a lot more that they can get from it. I think these ideas are a cool foundation, like you said. So yeah, very cool that we're getting a new IP from Capcom that is also really cool, like good. And they just keep hitting it, man. They rarely miss, honestly.
I just need Pragmata to give me definitive evidence that this takes place in the same universe as Resident Evil. You know, when you get to the end,
could you imagine?
When you get to the end and Leon appears on the moon, it's like, like, wow, Capcom, okay.
Hugh and Diana go back to Earth and it's actually zombies. Turns out Diana's completely
It would be hilarious.
The
whole
scenario.
Time they've been on the moon, it's like, damn, Raccoon City happened while you guys were up there. Like, oh my God, I can't believe, how long were we up there for? 30 years.
I'm actually almost shocked there isn't some sort of Easter egg being like, I got transferred to the moon from Raccoon City.
Oh, yeah. 100%, but I'm sure you saw there were tons of nods to Resident Evil.
I saw the posters, yeah. I saw the posters.
And there was one like billboard, and it's something Wesker. I was like, I see you, Capcom. I see what you're doing. That's really cool.
It would have actually been really funny if you like wandered into a room and there's just one zombie and you're like, I can't do anything against this thing, and the door just closes or something stupid. It would be quite fun.
You pick
or
up a
tofu
note.
appears somewhere.
Oh yeah, or you pick up a note. It's like itchy, scratchy. You're like, yes, Capcom.
That would have been really cool.
Very good. Yeah. I see what you've done here.
That would have been fun.
But yeah, Pragmata, really good time. And again, I know this is an argument. So people will be like, but I don't want to pay full price for a 12-hour game. Man, it's a good 12 hours. And I don't know what the replayability is like, but I'm happy to see Capcom like completely embracing, it's a single-player game. Bam. It's an enclosed experience. There's no fancy microtransactions or season passes necessarily, whatever. It's just a self-contained thing.
Yeah.
And they're like completely okay with that in some of their intellectual properties, which is cool.
And I think they could do, Resident Evil's the same thing, but Resident Evil gets DLC. They get story DLC, but you also get like Mercenaries mode, which is like arcadey, like run-based stuff. They could do that.
They could do that with,
I could see like a Mercenaries-esque mode here with that. The combat definitely holds up for that. So, I mean, they haven't announced anything, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's something like that gets added.
Yeah, just like a new mode or something, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking as a small diversion, did you watch the Resident Evil trailer yesterday? The Zack Krieger movie?
Mm-hmm.
That looks good. That looks really good.
I was a bit like, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but I was like, how the hell does this tie into the games? Because it has to be set in that universe. But I've since read that it is in Raccoon City, but like on the outskirts.
Parallel to RE2, apparently.
Yeah, something. So like, okay, cool. So there will be like little nods and things, I'm sure. Like, I don't want Leon to appear, although maybe at the end, some bullshit. Like, I don't want that, but it would be cool to know, like, okay, it's close enough that it's there, but it's not like focusing on the games or whatever.
You hear like Leon on a staticky like radio or something.
Yeah, you hear him
that would
say,
be
"Where's
pretty
everyone
neat.
going bingo?" And you're like, "Oh, you got me."
Fuck. I really like the idea of that. IGN had an interview with Zachary again. He explained that he created the movie from the perspective of the main character being like someone who would play the game. So
Yeah.
in my view, and you can see nods of this in the trailer, like he gets a shotgun, he like
Yes.
picks up keys off a body. It's like, oh, these are the things that, you know, when you're playing the game,
That's
you
what
would interact
happens.
with as
Yeah.
like a person. And I think that's a really smart way of going about it.
Yeah.
I also got the sense that he's not really saying that this is a zombie movie. He's leaning more into the creature side of Resident Evil, which is kind of neat to me. I want to see what he does with that. And you can see nods to that in the trailers. There's some weird
Stuff
things
happening
there. It's got a really cool vibe to it. And I mean, his previous movies have been he's a very, very good horror director. This is not just like some weird like dude cashing in on a video game property. So he seems to have a reverence for the series, and he knows how to do horror in a very tense way. So I'm super excited for this.
No, please be good.
I just don't know how it came out so quickly, because he put out Weapons like last year, and now Resident Evil's done this year already. So dude works fast.
Yeah. It's one actor in CGI.
Yeah, it's also true.
Just done so quickly.
It's out in September, so not that long to go. I'm very keen to watch that. Yeah.
Very, very
okay, outside of Pragmata, I haven't been playing much, but you've actually been touching in on some other things.
Yeah, so I'll very briefly talk about. I mean, I wish I had more time to play this week, but things have just been hectic. But Saros, if you're listening to this sometime, I don't know when you put this episode out, came out on like the 28th, 29th of April, 30th, so pretty recently.
Yeah, it came out this week. Yeah.
So we
2 days ago.
We actually got access like a couple days before launch, but just have not had the time to play. So going to this recording, I've played a hot hour or so. Okay, so this is really just
definitely
like
review it. Yeah.
10 out of 10 game, man. Game of the year. This is really just my immediate impressions. And this is one of those, again, very similar to Pragmata, where like I knew of Saros, and I think I've watched like the reveal, but I haven't watched anything after that. I don't know in terms of story and settings. That's all completely new to me. But yeah, what I immediately thought upon watching this game is, how has it been that long since Returnal came out? Returnal was a long time ago, but also a PS5 game, like one of the first PS5 games that comes to mind. And I remember playing Returnal and thinking how they nailed the use of the the controller, the DualSense. Like, man, I hope more games do this. And the reality is, a lot of games haven't done that. I think Returnal is still the only game that has, like, not the only one, but one of the best use cases of, a half trigger pull and this and that, and it feels very, part of the gameplay. And because it's Housemarque who did Returnal, they've got a similar thing with Saros, where it is like, again, it's still early in the game, but if you half pull something, it does something. If you full pull, it does something else. And it just feels, I remember playing Returnal going, this feels very weird, but you pick it up so quickly, and you can't help but wonder, why do more people not do this on the PlayStation? It's just, it seems to be like not an easy thing to do, but such a simple thing to do if you're doing a PS5 exclusive. Like, just build some weapon stuff around that controller, and it feels so good and tactile. And I'm really feeling that from Saros, where the combat is, it feels very much like Returnal in terms of look and movement and stuff. You're dashing as good Raul. God, I'm gonna butcher his name now.
Raul Coley.
Raul Coley. You're playing as a guy called Arjun who wakes up on this planet. They give you a little bit of context of, there's this planet, something. Movements is very much like Returnal, where it's fast paced, you can dash. But I think what's immediately different and new is that he has access to the shield, which if you're watching the footage, it's that. You can use it to not only block projectiles, but another twist is that it actually powers up your one attack. So,
okay.
Again, if you're watching the footage, I use like a special ability there. You can only use that ability when you've used your shield to absorb some of those like blue energy charges, whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, so again, like it's taking the formula of Returnal, so I keep going back to the game. It's completely different, but there are definitely similarities in DNA from that game. They've taken some learnings from Returnal and they've just refined and added some twist to it. And that's one of the immediate things that I saw was like, you know, you need to now be strategic of when you're fighting a whole lot of enemies in a room at once. It becomes a thing of like, okay, I've got my shield to block certain projectiles, but I should be catching the blue projectiles because that powers up my other ability. But it's kind of difficult to, not difficult, but you need to like wrap your head around that because it's thing of you don't want to die. To try to dodge incoming projectiles, but also trying to figure out when is an enemy going to shoot like the blue stuff so I can power up my secondary ability or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff I still need to figure out and, understand what's going on in the game. But after my first hour, I'm like, yes, I want to play more of this. It just reminds me of Returnal and how much I love that game. Like I remember playing that back in the day and just not hating, but it was super challenging and I'm craving
so
that
hard
again from this game. I've seen apparently it's a little bit more forgiving, not as difficult. But I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. There's still going to be a lot of challenge in it, which I'm very keen to sink my teeth into.
Yeah, I think they've learned. I mean, Returnal was challenging, but I felt like it was also overtly punishing in terms of how long the runs were, and also, having to restart a run from scratch every single time. Like, yes, it's a roguelite, but the length of the runs and the challenge of each run was a bit like, oof, I don't know. If I get to the fourth biome and die because like I've seen something for the first time and now I have to redo all of that, it felt a bit too much.
Yeah.
And I remember in the early months you also couldn't save a run.
Yeah.
So if you left your console or whatever, your run was just toast. So very strange. As far as I know, this one, if you get into a new biome, you can just jump back to that biome from a new run. So that's a big change, and I think that's where maybe some of the ease of use comes in. So you can definitely see this as like very Returnal-esque. Like the movement looks so similar.
It's very similar, yeah.
And the weapons look so similar. I like the shield. I like the idea of using defense as an attack. That seems like it's going to have some cool implications for the combat loop. So
yeah, just
very keen to give this a go soon.
Another little elements of gameplay. And because it is run-based, are things you're picking up. Like, again, I'm still early days, but I can see how, in a run, you'll pick up different items. I think they're called artifacts. If you're watching the footage, I just picked one up. But another interesting twist or thing is that sometimes you'll come across an artifact and it'll be like, cool, I'll give you this benefit, but at the cost of this. It's one of those risk versus reward things. Where, for example, one I picked up last night was, okay, like I'll give you this buff, but then your dash cooldown's a bit longer. It's like, okay, is that trade-off worth it? Cool, like I'll do it. Okay. Then later on picking up another thing of, I'll give you this positive buff, but enemies will do more damage. So, and that's not every artifact you come across. There are some that just straight up give you a buff. But I know when I'm getting really into the weeds of the game and I'm, min-maxing or trying to optimize something, it will become a thing of like, damn, how much like chaos or how many negative things am I willing to take on to like power myself up? Yeah, it's interesting.
Am I gonna be Glass Cannon where I take all the damage buffs, but then I have to play as if I never get touched because otherwise I'm just gonna get completely smoked? Those sorts of things.
Yeah. And last thing I'll touch on is another key thing is that you actually have a crew in this game. Returnal was very much like, I'm Celine, I'm on a planet, what the hell is going on? Just
there's an astronaut in a house and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like that, and it's for the most part it was her going like, what is going on here? I need to figure out what's going on. Yeah, from pretty much from the get-go, you figure out like, oh, I've got a crew, I've got a few crew members I can talk to that help flesh out the story, and they're all like, what's going on. So it's going to be interesting to see those scenes play out where, Raul's actually going to have people to talk to and interact with, which is cool. Now, I don't know how it feeds into, upgrades or things like that, but there's basically like a home hub that you go to between each run that you can, get bits of story exposition and things like that, which is quite cool.
Okay, so more story focused this time around.
I think so. I mean, it's not to say that Returnal didn't have a story, but that very much was The story is just told
vague.
Like super vague. You might pick up codex entries. Yeah, you've got people that are talking, like even on a run you see it's like, cool, you need to follow this signal, this and this is happening, we're trying to figure this out. It's like, okay, cool, like maybe it's a bit easier to follow the story in this game.
Yeah, I guess if you hire an actor like Rahul Kohli, you're not doing it just for his likeness. I mean, dude is an actor. He's very good. You want to at least use him for like voice acting and stuff. And I think it's really cool having him in the game because he is, I mean, if you follow him on socials, like a very big gamer. Like that, he loves video games. He's been in and around the space for ages. I mean, you weren't there, I don't think, actually, but me and Greg, you met Greg. He went, he attended E3 with us like 2 times. We met him at a party. Nice. Like he was at one of the E3 after parties, and we chatted a bunch about games there. Like he's super into this industry, loves it. So to see him represented in the game is pretty
very
cool. And I think it's a cool moment for him as well.
Yeah.
I'm really keen to give this a go really soon because I loved Returnal. Difficulty and all, I think it was really fun. And like you said, it uses the DualSense in a really interesting way. I remember playing it on PC when it did eventually come out on PC and using not the DualSense, and it felt weird.
How did that work?
They had to obviously work around. It was different button presses for the different alt-fire modes, and it just felt not as natural and smooth. I love this idea of having to think about half trigger presses and full ones, and how natural that starts feeling very, very quickly. So yeah, it's neat. Keen to give this a go as soon as Pragmata's out of the way.
Yeah, I want to wrap up Pragmata, and then our next episode, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say about.
Definitely.
Saros.
Last one on the menu is a game that I have absolutely no idea about. Like I've just seen memes and small videos, but I don't actually know what this game is. So tell me about Tomodachi. Is it Tomodachi Life? I don't know what the subtitle is.
So again, this is one of those games where I've not played it as much as I would have liked to, because life has just been busy. So I've put a couple hours into this Switch 2 exclusive. Tomodachi Life. It's basically I don't know, like maybe the best description is like it's one of those cozy sandbox life simulator games, kind of like Animal Crossing or the more recent Pokemon Pocopia, with the twist being like, cool, you're building your island, but all your island inhabitants are who you've made. So you can obviously make a whole lot of different characters. You can name them whatever you want, make them look however you want. But where the fun or the funniness comes from is that how these people interact with each other, you can like really customize and personalize them. So for example, my island, I've made Keeley Island. Okay, this is where my boy Jeff Keeley lives, and he was the first one on the island with his good pal Hideo Kojima.
Of course.
So it's one of those things where I've put them on the island, and then you kind of want to build up their friendship, and you get them to talk to each other, and you get prompts throughout the game of like, cool, Kojima's like, what should I talk to Jeff about? And I'm like, you should talk to him about Strand type games. And it's like, cool to have this conversation. And it's one of those silly things where the dialogue's obviously structured. It's kind of vague, but it's funny when it's contextualized with whatever the prompt is you've given. So Kojima's like, hey Jeff, I'm paraphrasing, but he'll be like, hey Jeff, have you heard about Strand type games? And Jeff's like, no, Kojima, can you tell me more about this? Kojima's like, Strand type games are all the rage right now, and that's just an example of the kind of fun and silliness you can have with the game. You can make it whatever the hell you want. Make whoever you want.
So they've got like predefined sort of sentences they're going to say to each other, and you're just filling in like a blank.
You're filling in the blanks, but you can also obviously, when you make the character, there are a few bars you can slide back and forth in terms of like what personality you'll give them. So you can I don't know what Jeff Keeley is like and what Kojima's like as a person in your life, but my perception of them, like, yeah, Kojima's quite this and Jeff Keeley's quite this, and to see how they interact with each other, it's just this fun experiment of like, if they were on an island together, what would they talk about? Then I've added a few other characters, like I added my good pal Gabe Newell, and of course Reggie from Nintendo. They're all on my island.
Of course.
All these top tier gaming
all
personalities
the stars are here.
hanging out. Gabe Newell's talking to Reggie about the Steam machine. And their friendship has developed enough now that I've been able to give them like pet names for each other. Reggie calls Gabe his Nintendo Sexy 4, because...
Okay.
It's just, what I'm getting, it's like, it's a complete sandbox. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. And the whole point is just to have these people live on this island, live this life, get them to like build friendships or relationships with each other. And the humor just comes from the prompts you give them and the things you can make them do and say to each other. That's why you're seeing these hilarious viral clips, all these moments, because it's just like things can be so funny and random and unexpected. Like if you're watching the footage, there can be these random cutscenes that happen. It's a wild game, and
it almost looks like The Sims.
If you want a description, it's kind of, look, it's not as deep as The Sims. So in terms of like building a house, you can't. Well, I'm just loving the footage he's watching right now.
Sorry, it's just like this. It's this moment where these two characters are married and then they have a child, and they're like, he looks so cute. Do you think it's a boy or a girl? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, of course, the player has to choose if it's a boy or a girl.
And then you choose, and the baby just rotates and has this, like, it looks like an adult that is just tiny.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Like
this looks funny. This looks
good. It is. It's super silly. It's meant to be wacky. And in terms of customization, like, you can have a lot of people living on the island, whatever. So I think with the island itself, you can customize, to a certain degree. But don't go in thinking, okay, cool, I'm going to build, like, my boy Hideo Kojima. I'm going to build his house and I'm going to, put a table and a bed there. You end up choosing like different aesthetics for the homes. The customization, like the more customization part of the game, comes from how you lay out your island, that sort of thing. What are you building on the island? The actual like pathways and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a silly time, and I want to play it more. I've only played a couple hours, but I've had some laughs. I've got some. Interestingly, Nintendo don't let you share clips from the game straight from the Switch.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's a big sticking point for a lot of like the communities. Like there should be better sharing tools.
I get it. Nintendo like, people are gonna, they're gonna not use the game the way we intended. Nintendo, people will figure out a way to show the stuff. So I don't know. It feels, it's such a Nintendo move to like restrict that. It's like we live in 2026. Like, what do you expect? But yeah, it's a wacky game, and I am going to put a lot more time into it. I just haven't had the chance to put as much time as I would have liked to.
I did like that another moment on the gameplay is someone drew like a 2D cat, and then it's just like an actual thing that follows you around the world. That's real funny.
Yeah.
This looks funny. I see why people have been using it to like share very humorous and comedic clips.
Because there are ways to prompt it, and it is like my first top of mind was I just want to have like the foundation of my island was like if Jeff Keighley and Kojima were on an island, because it's a meme at this point where like Jeff Keighley like idolizes Kojima, and I'm like, well, what would they be like on an island? And then it's like, well, who else would live on this island? So I'm going to keep adding probably gaming personalities. Like you best believe Todd Howard's going to be there saying some bullshit about Skyrim or whatever, and I'm going to add Phil Spencer will be there. All these dudes are going to be there just speaking shit, and I'm going to keep growing my island in that way. But you can make it whatever the hell you want. You could have you and Shani and Asher, and then you could add like your family members and have it play out that way if you wanted to. You could have people from your favorite TV show. It's yeah.
I'd grab different like video game characters. Like what would Gordon Freeman be
100%.
like with I don't know, Isaac from Dead Space, or like Marcus from Gears of War, something stupid like that,
Yeah, and that's where the fun comes in. You'll go, cool, like Gordon Freeman, like doesn't talk a lot, so you'd like build his personality like that, and the game will go, okay, cool, so this is what he's like. Now have him go talk to that person and see what nonsense they talk, whatever. That's where the humor comes in.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sounds really cool. I can see why people dig it. I used to, especially when I saw the first footage, I thought this was a like you got those mini games on like 3DS. Like you got Street Pass, but then you also had Puzzle Quest or something like that. Anyway, it used all your Mii characters. I thought it was like an expansion of one of those ideas, like a smallish sort of mini game that got put into a big thing. But apparently it's like some big series. So I had no context for that. But it looks neat. Looks quite fun. I don't know if you saw in the news, because you were just talking about Kojima and Gabe Newell, like on an island. Elon Musk and Sam Altman from OpenAI are like currently in like court or something like that. And there's obviously a lot of stuff coming out from that because there's evidence and discovery. And it turns out that Gabe Newell, very big supporter of OpenAI, but like back in the day, like donated something like $20 million to it in 2018. Way, way, way back. But apparently also very good friends with Hideo Kojima. And Kojima asked Gabe Newell if he could speak to Sam Altman to get a tour of OpenAI's offices.
Ah, interesting.
What a Venn diagram of like people. Yeah. And your boy Hideo Kojima hitting up his good friend Gabe Newell to get a tour of an AI office.
Like, I love that Kojima, like in terms of public life, he makes games, but it often feels like if you follow him on Twitter or Instagram, it's like I'm visiting recently. Is like I'm at Xbox, hang out with Phil and Asher and Matt Booty, whatever.
Did you see the box that was given to him?
Yes.
Like you have Asher Sharma just had this like little pelican case, and it's like Kojima's Xbox on it. Like, what? that box is tiny. What's in there?
It's top secret, man. But yeah, it's just on that. It's funny. Kojima, it feels like half his time is. Here's Kojima's life. Okay, he makes video games, he watches films, and the rest of the time is him just touring. It's him visiting studios. You tell me Kojima wanted to visit OpenAI, I'm like, of course he did. He probably went, had a tour, didn't take any pictures of it because no one knew about it, I guess, until now. But he's done it. He was there.
I do love his posts of when he goes to watch new movies because it probably is the case, but it looks like he rents out the whole cinema. Because it's just like him taking a photo of the screen with no seats and then him taking a selfie with no one in the seats around him. And even though that's the case, he's still wearing his mask, got to stay safe. But it does feel like he just gets someone to rent out the whole cinema for him so he can watch this movie in peace.
That's his cinema. It's
maybe
by him,
actually.
And then he just doesn't.
He probably hit up Jeff Keighley for his own IMAX projector because Keighley comes from the IMAX family. So you're probably right. It probably is just his own space. Yeah,
we think it's a public cinema. It's like in his house.
But then why is he wearing a mask?
That's where
I don't
understand.
Sleeps.
He sleeps on the chair.
I've had to like mute a lot of his stuff on Twitter just because he reposts, I think, like 100 Death Stranding like posts a day. It's actually impossible to navigate that on your timeline. So it's I think I muted like the hashtags and even Death Stranding 2, and even so I'm still getting bombarded with stuff. It's some poor employee of his is just all they do every day.
Social media.
Yeah. So many retweets every single day.
What are you doing today, employee number one? That's right. You're looking at all my Strand type games and just retweeting.
This is how you get likes.
We're connecting. We're getting likes in real life.
God damn. Cool. That's Tomodachi Life. I think it's called Living the Dream, if I recall the game footage correctly. But that's pretty much what we've been keeping busy with in April. May is looking just as stacked. We've got Forza Horizon 6 coming out soon. Got 007 First Light coming out the tail end of May. It's good stuff coming. And then before you know it, we're in June and we've got,
not E3.
What is it called? Playfest? Summer Games Fest? Summer Games Fest. That's the one. E3, not E3. Keighley 3. And there'll be a bunch of stuff, I think, filling out the end of the year. We'll eventually know when GTA's out. Wolverine will get a bit more footage, hopefully, to show. Lots of cool things coming. Yeah. New Gears of War is going to be shown off because that's apparently still coming this year. I'm very keen to see what happens. It's been a great year thus far. I think.
If Gears comes out this year, that's a pretty solid year for Xbox. Good God.
Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be Gears and it's meant to be Fable as well. So I think one of them slips. I think Fable probably slips. But yeah, I'm down for more Gears of War. It's been such a long time since Gears 5, so I'm really keen. Even though it is a prequel and that doesn't really make sense, I love those games. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. That's been episode 286. As always, let us know what you're playing. Hit us up on social media. What game has surprised you thus far this year? And we'll have a lot more to chat about with regards to Saros and any new releases between now and the next 1 or 2 weeks. But as always, thank you so much for listening. We hope you are keeping well. We hope you're staying safe. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Matty.
Thank you. Enjoy your long weekend.
You too. And we'll see you all next time. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.